Hello, my friends. Standing here in front of El Toro, which is back in action. Yeah. Sorry for the dramatics in my last video, but today I just kind of want to take in the sounds. That's it. And there's some pretty unique sounds here at this park, especially beginning with the so-called intimate farts of El Toro. So I think it only happens mainly on those first two big hills where, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know exactly what causes that sound, but the upstops are like really doing their work and the wheels are spinning that whole time as you're approaching the top of each hill. And it creates such a unique sound that I don't think I've heard any other roller coaster make. So next up is, of course, Bizarro, since it's right nearby and has that very distinct, like, floorless roar, for lack of a better word. I don't know if it has an official name, but it's one that I've heard other B&M floorless coasters have. Don't know why it is. Maybe it's something with the hydraulics or something in the train. I have no clue. But the other thing that I noticed is that they've added a little art to Medusa. It's cool looking, and it's just in one spot a little off, which is kind of a bummer because it looks like somebody put a grand plan to that one. But anyway, this is one of the coolest sounds, especially when you hear that pyro go off. It's fun to hear in the background, kind of like just ominously back there. Honorable mention to one of the worst sounds is when after the ride is done and everybody's on the brake run, they unbuckle the thing and then they start flipping it. It's terrible. Also, a positive honorable mention for El Toro that I forgot to mention is when the operator says "Olé" to everybody. I love that. Had to get in a shot of that classic arrow clanking of the lift hill on that mine train. It's a very distinct sound, especially when paired with, you got the El Toro intimate farts and then that B&M floorless roar. And then something about that is just so classic. And I think I've heard it at other parks, but this one definitely sticks out to me. The log flume is officially open, and let me tell you, that is the first ride that I ever rode that involved a drop. And I was so shy and nervous and awkward as a kid that I asked a family member if they would scream for me. I don't know what sense that made, but apparently that allowed me to go on. I asked, they said they would, and so I agreed to go on. But the particular sound that I really like about this is that sound, not when you hit the first drop or the screams or anything like that, but it's when you hit the water and it comes up. There's a sound that it makes when it comes down that's really cool and just reminds me of summers getting wet and asking people to scream for me. Well, I'm in this area. I haven't gone up there to get the sound, but there is a particular sound when these Skyride buckets are going into the station that is just pure nostalgia for me. And I just thought of one other sound for the log flume. You know when the empty logs are actually getting into the loading platform, there's like this particular squeak as they're supposed to get in line with each other? That, whatever you call that, that weird squeaky rubbery sound, that's a great sound. So I'm over here at King Ka, and I tried to go up, you know, you can go up through the exit and, you know, sneak a straight on view there, so I grabbed that, but with the music that's at the station and all the hooting and hollering, it's tough to get that sound, that intro sound of like the arms down, face forward, and before the launch. I couldn't get it, but that is one of the sounds that I really enjoy, is because it builds anticipation before the actual launch for King Ka, which, what is that experience even, like 12, 20 seconds at most? But still, really cool sound here at the park. I came all the way over to where Green Lantern and Superman are. I wasn't going to try to get the sound of people banging their heads on Green Lantern. There's not a distinctive sound to those B&M stand-ups, and I don't know if y'all heard, but at the time of making this video, SeaWorld is making like a 2-seater, or a 2 each row type of stand-up. I have no idea what to expect from that, but we'll see. And then Superman, my favorite thing is the reaction and sound of all of the seats going up into the flying position. However, when I got up to the station, there were some security guards that happened to be there, because normally, you know, you just walk up the exit if you want a view of that or a sound of that. Not to be the case here. So anyway, shout outs to that sound, and I guess to the headbanging sound. Standing here now at the carousel, it's kind of hard to hear the music, especially when the like area music is blasting. This isn't one, I don't believe, that has an actual Wurlitzer here, or any sort of pipe organ or anything like that. But I can try to get the music. So I only walked like 5-6 feet away from the carousel. You couldn't even hear the music over this. I think it quickly turned into Backstreet Boys, which, whatever, not one of my favorite sounds. But let's see, now that we're at the middle of the park, thankfully, something that I haven't heard today that I typically hear is some speakers struggling for their lives, like just kind of distorted and fully blown out. But right now, it's okay. So I think now it's time to go to the other side of the park. One sound worth mentioning, even though it's not one of my favorites, is the poor operator on the Sky Screamer having to yell at the guests to put away their phones, because otherwise they'll have to stop the ride. And they usually give them like 3 warnings or so, and I've seen it happen where they actually do have to stop it. It's not a very unique sound, but it is coming out of a skull, so I would say this little waterfall coming out of Skull Mountain is one of my favorite sounds. We moved on over here to the Jersey Devil Coaster, and I think you know what sound I am going to highlight. And no, it's not the sound of the ride ops having to yell at the guests to stop pulling the lap bar down. So while I was recording that little lift hill clip, I actually overheard one of the ride-ops telling people to stop pulling down on the restraints. I have no idea if that actually got picked up. I'm yelling over the music right now, but it'll be amazing if that actually showed up. I was hoping to get the sound of the lift hill for Nitro involved here. You can hear Batman in the background. But unfortunately, there is no good location, unless you're actually on the ride, to get that sound. So I highly recommend checking out a POV or something where you can actually hear the lift hill. This is pretty distinct. Now we're back here at Batman the Ride, just going up the exit ramp a little bit so I can capture some of the sounds of my first coaster ever. And this one I kind of feel like I have memorized, basically. And it does have a bit of that B&M roar to it. It just sounds a little bit different in pitch than Medusa on the other side of the park. Because of like back in the day when Movie Town there was more going on, I distinctly remember the sound pattern of all of this ride. It's kind of wild to think about, but yeah, back when like there was the waterworks and the stuntman free fall and all that stuff, it was just a completely different vibe here, and you'd constantly hear this ride going on in the background. So it's just like, it's not just like the lift hill, it's not just the sound of the coaster, it's like that first loop, the 0G roll, the whole thing. It just hits something in my brain, a core memory, if you will. That's it, guys. We're back at the beginning here. Just went around pointing out some of my favorite sounds. Obviously, if there's some sounds that I skipped that you enjoy, please point them out to me. Maybe we can make a part 2, and maybe I can get permission to go find the other sounds, some of the honorable mentions. Obviously, not the clicking, not the yelling, not any of that, but maybe some other sounds that we can't normally get without a little extra access, let's say. Anyway, I look forward to you sharing what your favorite sounds are, even if they're not at this park, any other park. I would love to know what they are so I can look them up and kind of figure out what kind of soundscape you guys are working with in your own respective regions. But anyway, guys, all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and I hope you go make your own adventure. Bye.